Hi, I'm MJ. I'm here with Paul. We're BLG18, and I hope you guys have been following us. If not, and this is your first time, you may find it a little bit interesting. And we've been talking about how life, golf, and business all kind of melt together.
Right.
I got to tell you, when it comes to golf, if you do play golf or whatever you do for that matter, what you find out is that if the swing isn't right or it is something your business isn't going right, take a step back, take a deep breath. And I tell you, it's usually only one or two things that are wrong. And you fix those one and two things, and all of a sudden, wow, you're back in the game. So I think that's it. The only thing here now, too, because of the economic turmoil we're in right now, because of the situation, I think you also got to sit back, and if it's bad for the country, it'll usually go bad for the person doing it. And I think you're seeing some around the edges of things starting not to hold up to what people thought was going to happen. So I say just relax, calm down, and Paul, you talk to me. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, well, you must be sitting amongst some tulips because I like the way you're tiptoeing around.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, you went to the tulip. When did you go?
No, we're going tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
There's a tulip festival in town.
Is that all next week?
It's this weekend.
Okay, good.
It's this weekend. Good. And it should be, it's kind of one of those where you get to walk around. The weather's going to be nice. You get to see the different
tomorrow.
Right,
80 tomorrow.
Right. So if you can walk and see some nice flowers and people are out and they're always in a good mood.
I put my shorts on. I'll blind them with the eyes of my white skin showing the sun. I'll put my shorts on. I'll blind people. I have to wear sunglasses around.
Well,
anyway, I'm sorry. I
digress.
You digress. I digress.
So I understand what you're saying as far as, these things are happening. Because I remember when the elections were going on in the States and when the elections were going on in Europe, right? And then things were going on in Iraq and things were going on over in I just remember looking back because somebody asked me one day, who are you voting for? And I said, doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter because I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the show. I'm just going to watch how everything just unfolds. And like whenever we watch any kind of show, we try and figure out ahead of time. What's going on? What's the plot twist? Who's the person that's,
Because when we were growing up, you watched Walter Cronkite or whoever you watched, they gave you the news. Right. Today you watch these cable TV shows, they also editorialize them.
Yeah, there are.
So they're telling you, here's the news, and here's what I think, and here's what I think you should think.
Oh yeah,
and they're all like that. I think Fox is like that. NSNBC's. You can watch this. You can hear the same. You can hear the same sentence, get two different results from the same sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody goes out with their own thought because they just listened to some guy, some talking head, give you their definition of what you should think of what just happened.
Right.
And it's crazy, but that's the way this country's evolved right now.
Yeah, well, in the States, everything's gotten very polarized. There's no question about it. And if you look at your life and you look at your friends, even your friends have become polarized. I mean, I have a couple of friends that don't talk to me anymore because I don't see eye to eye with what they see politically. Well, to me, then I didn't lose a friend.
Yeah, see, I'm a little different. I don't care. I mean, I just don't talk politics. Yeah. If we do talk, it's a really short spurt because they're still friends. They just have a different opinion than me.
Right.
I can't hate them for it. I question and they probably question me for my logic.
Probably.
But it's just it's always been that way. There's always been Democrats. There's always been Republicans, and they didn't always disagree or agree.
Right.
But they were able to sit down at the table to talk together.
Right.
These guys don't even want to sit down at the table to talk to each other. Right. They're so polarized. But, it's the same old crap. Usually the fish thinks at the head first. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, I agree.
So
no, and it's interesting because I look at a place like the United States. Right now, it's a two-party system for the most part. But they're two separate dictatorships, and that's how I see them. And each time one of the dictatorships tries to take control. And then when they take control, it's all about them. And right now, we're kind of in that situation where one party has control of all three. And to me, that kind of dictatorship can be bad because at some point it's going to turn to the other dictatorship.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
But the point is that, to your point, they don't try to get along.
No.
It's, okay, we now rule, so now we're going to only do what we want to do. And then these people are going, whoa, we represent all these people. They're still people in the United States. You still have to represent them. No, we don't. We represent. And that's the part I don't like about politics. But the problem with it is now mainstream within society.
You know, and we could put an end to this whole thing with term limits.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question about it that term limits causes this problem. And the other problem is I question using outside funds to run your campaign. Because when you have a large donor giving you $1 million or $2 million and you get elected, you don't think he's going to knock on your door and say, hey, you owe me a favor. I just gave you $1 million.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's the whole reason he gave.
So now you're not working for your constituents. You're working for the one guy that gave you all the money.
That's right.
And you're going to listen to him, whereas the other people you won't even answer the phone for. So, you know, it's just built in. There's certain things built into the system that just doesn't work. And I don't think it was meant to be that way. No, I think everybody should have this X amount of dollars to spend, and that's it. And that way, the best person wins, not the best advertised one wins.
Right. But again, problem when you have two dictatorships fighting for position. They will make rules that, even though they'll make the rule for themselves, when the other party takes over, they use it because they go, oh, it's a rule, we can use it. And then it never goes back to normal. And
if you look at the Democrats and Republicans, it's like a royalty. You know, once they get in there for songs, then maybe their kids will follow it. I mean, it's no longer an elected official. He's part of the system, which means he's part of the problem.
Right. So, now, but there is one thing that the U.S. has going for it that most other countries don't have, is that you can open up a public record of how your elected officials vote, and you can read, are they voting because they represent me? Or are they voting because they're representing some other entity? You as the voter have the right to vote them out. And you can actually send them an email and say, hey, you know what? I like the job you're doing. You know what? I'll probably vote to re-elect you next time. Or you could send them an email and go, you know what? You don't represent me at all. I'm not voting for you in the next election. You don't have my vote. But at least you put them on notice. Hey, you know what? I'm not happy with what you're doing. And that's the only way, even though let's say if you vote Republican, you don't like the Republican guy, and you can vote him out and put another Republican in, but you vote him out. And he no longer has a job. And if he knows that, or she knows that, they're going to have to make a decision. Do I stay on my course and go with the big donor who gives me big money, or do I lose my job in a couple of years?
So I'm also a big believer in the pendulum theory, because it goes strong left, then it goes to the center for a while, then it goes strong right, back to the center, back and forth, back. And if you look at our history of politics and how the government's run, that's usually how it runs. It goes to one extreme to the other, and for a few years it stays in the middle. So we're waiting for it to come back to the middle, and then it'll go the other way, and then there'll be a problem there, and then it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. But
what we're finding, citizens of the U.S. don't believe that the government's actually trying to solve issues. They think they create the issues and then pass them off to the next generation. And a lot of that, if you look at federal debt, let's say, there isn't enough money in the entire world just to pay off the American debt. There isn't $36 trillion in the world.
And I don't want to drill down my philosophies without getting too political, but we decided to be big brothers to the world, and we're paying for it with this debt. And that's basically, we got to feed the world, we got to protect the world. Well, that's great, except that it takes a lot of money to do that. More money than the Americans can generate out of their taxes.
Right.
So we borrow money.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're sitting at now. We're in massive debt for taking care of the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem.
Yeah,
and now that probably sounds like a Republican talking, but I'm not. I'm a Democrat. And it's just common sense math that'll tell you what's going on. But God forbid we talk common sense, you know.
Well, no, we don't want to get that deep.
No,
you know, that would just turn so many people off.
Nobody want to listen then. So anyway, yeah, if you're starting a business now, I would say sit back and watch. I think the time's going to come, and like I told earlier in one of the other podcasts, with all the quote tariffs unquote, you have all kinds of business opportunities because somebody's going to need something that they can't get or they can't afford to buy. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and start growing guacamoles or whatever they're called. Not guacamole. What are they called?
Guacamole. Well, avocados.
Avocado. That's what I meant. No, you can't grow guacamole.
If you could, you could cut out the middleman.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're not going to grow those, so you know that's maybe that's not the way to go for those. But other things, mostly like parts. Parts for automobiles, parts for machinery, parts for conveyor belts, parts for trucks that they need to have sourced someplace else that used to be overseas. It's pretty obvious the Chinese sell a lot of automobile parts to Mexico, and that's how the Chinese get their parts back into the country, even though there's a tariff on them. And now there's a tariff on Mexico, so that's going to stop that. There's an old thing, my grandfather, he lived to be 98 years old. He didn't say much, but he was pretty smart. He said to me one day, he says, John, I said, yeah, locks are made for honest people. So, which, if you think about it, is true. If you want to get in, you're going to get in.
Yeah.
If you're going to find a way to get around it, to get in.
Yeah.
So it's just the way it is. And I think life is that way too, don't you, Paul?
Yeah. You know, it's funny. You can say the same thing about computer programming. You can have all the security you want on your computer program, right? You can have your bank can give you double authentication and blah 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 blah. Somebody already knows how to get around that. All they have to do is figure out how to get into your system, and that's the lock. The honest person isn't going to get past that lock.
You know, thinking back on that, what your point is, especially with AI. If I had to do it all over again, or if I was a young man right now, I'd become a plumber, electrician.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Carpenter, even more or less a plumber, electrician, because AI can't do those.
No.
The AI, so that job's pretty well protected.
Yeah,
running a bulldozer on a construction site. You know, AI can't do that yet either. Maybe someday they'll be able to program
someday,
but not in your lifetime or my life.
No.
But the point is, the trades are where the money's going to be.
No, I agree. You know, they always have been, and that's why I see like guys like you and I. We had shop when we were in high school.
Yes.
We learned metal, we learned wood, we learned ceramic, we learned glass. You know, there were things that we learned so that we could go out, because back then college wasn't for everybody. So we would go out of high school and we had a trade ready. And you'd go into an apprentice program for a couple of years and they would train you, and then all of a sudden you'd be working.
But back when I went to high school, that wasn't an option. I'll tell you why. If you didn't go to college, you went to Vietnam.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So I went to college. I wasn't ready for college. Of course, I was never be a tradesman either. I fix everything with a hammer. But so you went to college to avoid the draft,
right?
And then of course they changed that,
right?
But you know, and well, I was in college. But the point is, a lot of people were in college. They had no business being there.
Oh, I know. I could have arguably been one of them.
I graduated from college and I did okay, I guess, and it hasn't hurt me. But I'm wondering if it wasn't for the Vietnam War, I think I would have been better off being an electrician, plumber.
Yeah.
You know, I think my life would have turned out a lot different than it did by going to college.
Sure. So coming out of high school, I liked theater, so I liked acting, but I also liked advertising. And I thought, I think I can be good at advertising. I'm like an idea person, you know, I have a lot of energy, you know, I can be creative, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then I picked a school that had like one advertising course, and that was it. So I wasn't going to learn anything from that school in advertising. Yeah. But the closest thing to that was media. Yeah. And I started learning radio engineering, and then I learned television, and then I learned how to shoot, I learned how to edit. And when I got out of school, that's what I started doing. That being said, because now we're talking about college per se, but we're talking about what are you going to do now in life after high school, right? I want to go back to a point you made earlier, and I want to ask it this way. So right now we're putting tariffs on all these parts coming into the country.
Supposedly we're putting tariffs.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll find out, but more than likely there will be some sort of reciprocal thing going on. What if I came out of high school and I learned plumbing, and I learned it for a couple of years, and then I figured out that plumbers need this part, and they can only get it in either China or Thailand. Should I approach money and say, I can make these for the same money and have them here in the United States?
What I would do is I would find a company, because you know what, when you get a partner and you get nothing but trouble. But I would find a place that maybe they make something similar but not quite, and maybe you can make a deal for them to retool their equipment to make the part. I've seen that happen.
Okay.
Unless you want to get into it. But again, to make a part like that, you have to be able to make a lot of them.
Right. No, that's
so
true.
To buy the equipment and everything else is really a stretch.
Right.
But if you can find a manufacturer that's willing to give you the rights to sell a particular product and they'll retool it for you, that's an easy way to get into the market and make a lot of money.
Okay, so that sounds like a viable concept.
Yeah.
Coming out of high school now, if you don't want to spend 4 years in college and have debt and try and figure out to find a job somewhere, to find out that you don't know anybody in that company, so you'll never get in.
I think college is overplayed. I think math is underplayed in school now.
True.
Terrible. Because of all the silly things you learn, math is probably the fundamental thing that you're always going to need.
Yeah.
You need to know percentages. You need to know cost averaging. You need to know all that stuff to do anything in your life. The simple things like when I met my wife in college, this was, of course, we're talking decades, quarter centuries. Oh my God, I can't think.
Oh yeah, because you and Lincoln were friends, right?
Yeah, that's right. I was supposed to meet him at the balcony that night, but I was too late.
Had to go there, didn't you?
My wife couldn't balance a checkbook. Graduated from high school, good high school, great grades. She got into the nursing program, and she couldn't balance a checkbook. Now, don't you think the system is something's wrong with it?
Something's wrong. Yeah, I agree.
Now, here's the problem: the kids that were not taking the Regents courses.
Oh yeah,
they were put into courses where they could do a checkbook, life things.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys, because they didn't take the Regents and they went a different way, became very successful. One guy particularly that I know, and the only reason I know him, he turned out to be a nice guy and everything, but him and I got into a fight freshman year, and I was wrestling. He was a boxer, so it didn't turn out well for me. Anyway, and we ended up being friends afterwards, but he ended up owning the largest garbage in the area, trash pickup guys. He didn't go to college, but he knew math, he knew how to do percentages, and he knew how to make money. Had nothing to do with his college education on philosophy or the stuff that they forced down you. I mean, I had a minor in philosophy. Why?
Yeah. What good does that do?
Why?
Right.
You're a waste of money.
Right.
I mean, if you want to be a philosophy major, fine. You don't get your master's, get your doctorate, and go teach at a college to teach other kids philosophy.
Yeah.
Otherwise than that, or maybe you write a book. I don't know. But what do you do? Where do you get your I'm going to hire you to run this because you're a philosopher. No, I don't think so.
Right.
I don't know. There's certain things you go to college for. You spend a lot, become a social worker. You spend a lot of money to become a social worker.
Yeah, true.
And you don't make any money being a social worker.
Yeah, that's true. Same thing with a teacher.
Yeah, teacher. Well, teachers not so bad though, because they do have the best thing about teaching is June, July, and August. Let's face it.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If I had to go to college, I think it would be a math teacher. June, July, and August. I mean, come on. Where are you going to go? Every holiday that you sneeze at, you get off.
Yeah, right.
You have great retirement.
Right.
Great benefits.
Right. No, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I can remember when I came out of high school, one of my father's friends owned a paint store, and he married into the paint store. And I was talking to him one day, and he was like, so like, what are you thinking? And I said, I don't know. Okay. And he just, be a garbage man.
Oh yeah, big money garbage.
Be a garbage man, because in my head I'm like, career? Go, the two like didn't make sense. He said, doesn't matter where you go in the country, you'll find work. They have unions. They have retirement plans. You get up at 5 a.m. You work from 6 to noon. Your garbage run is done. You grab your clubs. You go out and play 9 or 18, and life is good again.
Or you buy your own garbage.
Yeah, or at some point you open your own
your own business.
Right. Like, did you see that waste management now is turning landfills into power stations?
Is that what they're doing?
Yeah. It's a new concept they're coming out with, and we'll think of all the methane.
Oh, it's all methane. If you go by any landfill, you see those pipes coming out.
Yeah. So imagine if you could somehow harness, and they've figured out something where they can generate. It's probably low power, but still, they're generating something.
I thought that a long time ago. I remember going by a couple landfills up where I used to live. I said, "My goodness, they're just losing all that methane into the air.
Yeah,
it could be converted into power,
into power.
But
see, and this is kind of now coming back full circle for what we were talking about. Figure out something that you can bring to the society that's not there. Me personally, I would love to see all the big businesses in the world close up all their shops around the world. If you really want to stop this thing with tariffs and stuff, start manufacturing in this country again. But that means you have to pay real wages.
But not only that, you don't have the people to do it.
Well, see, and that's part of the issue. You've stopped educating people because there was no need for them anymore.
You want somebody to help you run their machine shops? Well, you got 5 guys with a philosophy major coming in to do the job.
And 4 of those guys are going to program the AI to do all the work.
Yeah. So I mean, right? you don't.
And this is where my confusion is starting to lie about how we're doing this, because we want to tax all the stuff coming into the country, where we could make it here for probably the same money without the tariff, but now we don't have the people who are going to run it.
Yeah.
So do you stay in the other countries and accept the tariff, which means the people have to accept the tariff and how much more everything costs?
Plus, a lot of these college education jobs are going to go to AI. You know it.
Of course they are. Because people aren't taking them. They have such a shortage. Like, you know what? It's better for us to invest in a robot.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, not for nothing, but, over-the-road truck driving used to be a great fallback. I knew plenty of guys that lived on the road, and they loved it. They made good money. They hustled, but that was part of the job. Now, let me just program this and stop in Paducah and then stop in Des Moines. Okay.
Yeah.
And it stops for fuel.
Yeah.
And that's all it does. And now that guy's sitting at home going, I can't even get a job in my neighborhood. So, anyway.
So you may have to retool your thinking. You may have to retool what you think is a career. And you may have to, especially if you're in your late 30s, early 40s or 50s, and you just got let go from whatever job it is. You got replaced by AI or the federal government let you go, whatever it is. There's going to be a lot of guys out there like that.
Yeah.
So you again, I tell you, don't panic and take your 401k and start an ice cream stand. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah, and for the most part, if I can wrap this up easily, I spent 40 years in my industry. Right, when I started in my industry, it was young, and that was satellite communication. And when I started in satellite trucks, there were only a few of them out there. When I retired in 2020. They were already starting to get rid of them. So it was barely 40 years had passed, and an entire global industry disappeared. And I would bet that if that same thing started today, it would be 10 years, 15 years.
Oh yeah,
that it would start to dissipate.
Absolutely.
And so I think, to John's point, consider the concept of plumbing, carpentry, welding.
What's the one that take care of air conditioning? Great job.
HVAC.
Oh my!
Oh my God! Find me a place in the world that doesn't want air conditioning.
I remember coaching this kid in high school, and he wasn't the sharpest tack in the box, but he was aggressive, nice kid, really nice kid. Came from a very, very poor background, And I ran into him 5 years later, and he went to community college to learn the HVAC, and now he had a crew of 6 people. He had several large yogurt plants that he was the only one doing all their HVAC system. The kid was doing good, and he said, of course, he thanked me because that's what you do. You're nice to kids. You know?
Right.
But the point is, he says, you taught me to think outside the box. He says, plus you also told me to get a minor in business, and I did.
See that?
Yes, I did tell him that. I said, if you do anything, get yourself in business. You got to understand the numbers.
Yeah, right. Whether you're the owner or not, you got to know the numbers.
You got to know the numbers. You know,
I totally agree. Totally.
And he's doing. And I was so happy for him. I was so happy. It was nice to see a kid turn out good like that.
So what we're going to start doing, folks, as you're following the podcast, we're going to start going on the road and interviewing people from different areas of industry, different areas of life, different areas of golf. And so stay tuned, and you'll see how people other than us can tie together these things, and maybe they can inspire you.
And we're going to, I mean, honestly, we're going to bring in some different thoughts than what I have or what Paul has.
That's right.
We're asking you, like we are, keep an open mind to it and say, you know what, yeah, that makes sense. Even if it doesn't make sense to us, if it makes sense to you, then something good came out of it.
Yeah, and you know what? If there's a type of individual you'd like us to interview and bring onto the show, you'd like to get some information, send a comment. Let us know what industry, let us know what kind of questions you have.
But I want to tell them who our first guest is in case they want to make sure to catch it. His name is Johnny Angel, and he's a master in Reiki.
That's correct.
And I think you'd be quite impressed with him. And
well, certainly some of the people we've talked to have really been impressed by his
we've known
abilities.
John for how many years now? Several years. And you can't. He's really a grounded guy. But you know, when you say Reiki to me, I roll my eyes a little bit and everything. But when you talk to people, I know you don't because you're into that stuff. But then to be honest with you, when I had that ringing in the ear with that tinnitus, somebody said to go to an acupuncture. I said, come on, they stick needles in you. That's really going to work? Well, damn it, it worked.
How about that?
It worked.
I
remember going in the little Chinese guy, and, he could hardly speak English. I told him I had pointed to my ears and rings, and he starts putting needles in my foot. And I said, wait, it's up here, not down there. Yes, I know. He did it with my foot, one of my shin, one of my hand, and finally got to the ear. Well, you know what? After five sessions, it really worked.
Because people don't realize how many nerve endings are in the foot.
Yeah. What the heck do I know?
We'll have to have a reflexologist on one day too.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to have on there. Yeah. So, to say you don't believe in that stuff, I didn't believe. When you can go into something you don't believe in it and it works. That's something that has something.
And that's what starts opening your mind to possibilities.
Have you had Reiki? Have you ever had it?
No, actually, but I was going to talk to him about that.
Maybe we should have it on one of the podcasts. They'll do it on the podcast. Give you
that depends on how much time. Reiki, I don't know if that's a 5-minute thing.
I don't know, but I'd love to see what he comes up with. Comes out of you.
Well, if you okay. I'm game. If you're a game audience, let us know.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, have a good day, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Bye.